could you tell us where you're from?
So I born and raised in Grand Rapids, Michigan, and never really left there until I went to college.
Okay. And can you tell us from there, your academic background?
Yeah, went to undergraduate college at Fisk University, which is a HBCU college university, and I always wanted to go to a black college because in Grand Rapids there were no mentors or people that looked like me, so I wanted to go to some place where I could study with people that looked like me and have a good time too. After going to there, I did also study at Vanderbilt in chemistry and chemical engineering, and after that I went to medical school at Michigan State, College of Human Medicine, and then after medical school went to did an internship at Henry Ford Hospital in Detroit, and a residency at Henry Ford Hospital in Detroit in neurosurgery.
Wow.
Then went into private practice in Battle Creek, Michigan.
Wow, first in Battle Creek.
Mm-hmm.
And then what brought you to Georgia?
Well, my mother's was in Georgia for a long time. She, her job moved her to Georgia, then she moved her to DC. And then when she retired in DC, she moved right back to Georgia. And so she kind of recruited me to come down here. The neurosurgeon at the hospital where I ended up joining, he had been injured. And so they started looking for somebody. And a guy on the board called me, and then one thing led to another, and I ended up down here.
Wow. And have been there ever since, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And so there's a lot to unpack here. One, I'm sure being a medical student, period, no matter what your color is it's no cakewalk. It's not always easy. I'm sure loving what you do helps you get through, but to be a medical student in a Black body, I feel like it's like that. I'm sure that is an experience in itself. Were there times where it was just you in the room? Like, what was that like?
Well, yeah, most of the time it was just, I was the only Black person in the room, even though we had other Black students. But in retrospect, I recall having a lot of anxiety, almost even panic attacks. And I never knew what they were until recently. And I was just sitting there afraid. And my heart would start racing. I couldn't answer the question because I was too nervous. And people in medical school, the next person next to you is trying to be up on you. So if they see that you're having some kind of issue, they'll exploit that issue so they can get ahead. And so, it's that kind of thing. And they had a lot of alliances and cliques, and you couldn't join those cliques because you weren't like them.
Wow.
That was real difficult.
What inspired you to get into medicine?
Boy, for some reason, I always liked engineering. And I was actually in an engineering curriculum at Vanderbilt, between Fisk and Vanderbilt. And I went to a site visit at what they call the Monsanto plant, and they make a lot of different products. And I noticed that at that visit, I didn't interact with people, but we interacted with miles and miles and miles of pipes and tubing and things like that. And I didn't think that was going to be for me. I'd rather interact with people. So I took a class actually in biomedical engineering. I liked it a lot. My professor's name was obviously Paul King, and he kind of inspired me to get into medicine, because he did a lot of medical projects with people in outer space and things transmitting EEGs and EKGs and things like that from the spaceship to NASA. And that kind of got me interested in medicine.
What do you love most about neurosurgery?
I think it's the autonomy and the excitement. There's a certain rush in neurosurgery that you can't really get anywhere else because it's, one, you're trying to rush against the clock to save somebody's life who maybe die in the next few minutes if you don't intervene. There's a certain amount of intellectual challenge in neurosurgery that really inspires me too. In other areas, the intellectualization, I guess you would say, is not as great as it is in neurosurgery, I think, or cardiac surgery, where you're really, you're really thinking and seeing things happen because of what you thought should happen. And you see a lot of people that survive who had both feet in the grave, and that's really inspiring.
Did you have any defining moments in your career or even in your academic career that has, helped you in your journey, or has, really stood out to you in helping you become, the person that you are today?
There's a whole lot of those little things along the way, but one, during my residency program, I was about to quit or get fired or something, and I went to a guy to try to get a job in his department in general surgery at Henry Ford Hospital. He was the chairman of surgery at the time, and he told me, "You need to stay where you are because it would mean so much to your people to be doing what you're going to do if you can get through." And so he helped me and inspired me to stay in the program and not give up and not get out and do something different. That was a big plus for me. And then I had noticed friends who had other specialties that they weren't as happy, I think, in their specialties as I could be. I'm not sure if they just didn't have enough intellectualization, or they weren't busy enough, or that area was saturated. And then the other thing is my family. My father, he didn't necessarily make me go into medicine or neurosurgery, but he had a work ethic that was unmatched. And I think that work ethic helped me along. And he taught me the things that you need to do to just stay focused on the job. And I think that really helped a lot.
What advice do you have for, students who, are pursuing a career in medicine, whether it be neurosurgery or whatever lane? Do you have any tips for them?
Well, yeah. I mentor a lot of people. I have over the years, and I didn't realize the importance of it until recently. But I think number one tip is have a life outside of medicine. That's number one. Number two is, whether you are a Christian or a Muslim or whatever your religion, have some kind of God situation in your life. If you don't, it's going to be hard to fall back on stuff. We all fall back on the Lord and call on the Lord when we're in trouble. But I think it's better when you're not, before you're in trouble, to have the Lord working with you, and you're working with the Lord, because there's so much death and so much destruction in medicine that everybody doesn't see. To be able to handle those type of things, you have to have some cushion, and the Lord is the best cushion. And so I usually tell people those things, and getting the science part of medicine is going to come. The everyday things that you do on your job in medicine is going to come, and it's a repetitive sort of practice. But if you don't have the things that can help you in your life, like God, family, and something on the outside, like some people have they jog, some people ride bikes, some people fly airplanes. But just as long as you have something outside to make you a person. And in neurosurgery, you need it even more, because the training is not such that you are a person, you're a robot. And and it's better now, but it's still, you're a robot, and you are trained to be a robot for a long period of time, and you get into that kind of a rut, and it's counterproductive to your development.
So do you have any, fun stories or things that you had to sacrifice, in order to get that degree?
Oh yeah, well, struggle is a part of living, I think, and depends on what situation you have. But the first part of struggling was having somebody who was what you call, you have a chief resident, and who's in charge of all the residents, and my struggle with my chief resident was my person who was my compadre in my class, and the chief resident drove into the hospital every day together. Okay, they lived close by, and their wives were friends, and so automatically I'm on the outside. I don't know what the schedule is. I don't have the priority at the person, who's real tight with the chief resident. And so when things came about, I would be the second or the third one to know, and the other guy would be the first one to know. And so that's a big struggle, because somebody's really got the up on you.
Mm-hmm.
The other struggles are, struggles within yourself, and I think it's struggles within myself that you don't know is going on. It's like, I think in our society and where I grew up, we are always taught that we were inferior.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you're in a situation, you end up kind of sabotaging yourself because you think you're inferior. And not until you can get over that thought of, oh, I'm not really inferior, that can you move on. And I think that you get stuck in the mud if you think you're inferior to the other guys who are, they're really not superior to you. You're probably better than them. And so that's hard. That's a hard struggle. It's a struggle it's another racial struggle that is implanted in you from very early on in school. And where we went to school, we were always considered inferior to the other kids, the white people in our classes.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the things that another struggle is just struggling against saying, I can't do this. And one example is, I'm doing an operation, real serious operation called aneurysm operation. And, first you have to open up the head, and then you have to, dissect down to where the problem is that you want to treat. And that's aneurysm. It was a kind of complex aneurysm, things were stuck down to a lot of places with scar tissue. And here I'm really struggling, and I'm trying to say, well, my goodness, how am I going to do this? So what I say to myself is, God, please help me. And then the thing in the back of my head said, who you think's been helping you all this time? And the thing about it is, after that, I went on and got the thing done in a quick manner, in an efficient manner, and everything came out just fine. But I don't know, it just came like that, And that's why I say you got to keep God in your life, keep God as a factor. I'm not saying going to church every Sunday doing that, but you got to have God in your mind, in your heart.
And and you might have already kind of touched on this a little bit, but what has kept you focused? What kept you focused throughout, despite the struggles? Was it the love for neurosurgery? Was it the passion to want to finish? And what was it what was it that really kept you from not giving up? And I'm not talking about after you got your white coat in your practice, but just trying to be able to say, I am a neurosurgeon. What kept you focused?
Well, I'll tell you, the things that really kept me focused was, I had 3 crumb snatchers that needed to eat. And if I wasn't working, they wouldn't be eating. And I figure if I got a little money as a medical student, as in a residency, you get a little money. And so even though you're struggling, sometimes it's your family and your kids that, they got to eat, they want clothes, they want Christmas presents. And those kind of things keep you a little bit focused too. But I think it was my wife kept me focused, and my mother and my father. My family kept me focused really the most. It's all family.
Yeah.
Encouragement, no discouragement, and I had a mother-in-law who, and every once in a while I would say, Monica, take the kids to Grand Rapids, and I just need the time. And so she would understand that, and her mother would understand that, and my mother would understand that. And so it made it a lot easier on us.
So, there has to be a certain level of excellence that you have to maintain to be not just a good neurosurgeon, but a great one, an excellent one. So my question to you is, what does excellence mean to you, Dr. King?
Well, excellence to me means that when you get up every day, you want to do the best job that you can do that day. And regardless of what's happening in the world, you just want to be able to do the best that you can do, and then set out a plan to do the best that you can do. And if that means going and talking and sitting down with somebody that's a patient of yours or their family, and talk to them and explain things to them in detail, or if it means to go and do an aneurysm operation or a spine operation, but concentrate and stay focused and do the best that you can do in that situation. Because a lot of times you have bad situations and all you can do is just the best that you can do. And if you continuously focus on being good, doing right, and trying to do best for the patient and the patient's family, I think, to me, that's what excellence really is.
This is a great way to end the interview. This has been wonderful. But before we go, Dr. King, we have to do what I call the rapid fire round.
Okay.
Bacon or seafood, specifically crab legs?
Seafood.
Yay! Too many people have been saying bacon, and I'm like, what? You would give up seafood for the rest of your life for some bacon? No. Bacon is a great addition to some meals. I understand bacon it's good, in moderation, but seafood? Okay, so
unless you got a seafood allergy,
right. So exactly. So that kind of automatically rules it out. Spain or Italy?
I'd say Spain, but neither one. I'd say West Africa.
Yes. Do you know do you know what specific country in West Africa, or just anywhere?
Oh, is between Nigeria and Ghana.
Both of them have great food. Both of them have great food. Great time, great views, great food. I have not been to either one of those countries yet. I put a huge yet at the end of my sentence, but yeah. I've had the honor of having some good, authentic Nigerian food, and it's so delicious. Okay, and lastly, I know the answer to this question, but this is for the audience: cats or dogs?
Dogs.
Yeah, you've had a few fur babies in your lifetime. Yeah, I remember all of them. Well, Dr. King, thank you so much for giving me a moment of your time. I really, really appreciated this interview. I appreciate being able to talk to you. I know it's been a while, but yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Well, it's an honor to me, to have somebody think enough of me to interview me. I never looked at my life like that, But yeah, I think it's really an honor, and I really have to commend you, for doing this.
Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I really hope that you enjoyed this conversation. I know I did. Make sure that you comment below if you'd like and let us know how you felt about this episode. Please stay tuned for the next one. And with that said, bye.
Bye bye.